I'm Ben Gonzalez with the Texas Department of Insurance, and this is the Texas Insurance Podcast. On each episode, we look at an insurance topic, why it's important to you, and then offer some tips to help save you money or protect your property. Today, we're letting you lead the discussion. We're going to answer the most commonly asked questions about auto insurance that we see online, as well as a couple that don't come up that often, but always require a little research when they do. We spoke to a pair of experts from our property and casualty area, starting with manager John Mooney, who covered the most Googled questions people have about their car insurance. When we looked just on search engines about what people are looking for about insurance, and especially auto insurance, there was definitely a reoccurring theme. People wanted to know about price and also what's the best. So I know that's a difficult question to answer in a couple of sentences, but what can we offer consumers who are looking for a good deal, but also not to pay too much?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ben. And I think the first thing to consider is prices and everything. You need to realize and take a look at what is the policy going to cover. So, for example, you might only want to have liability coverage and you might not purchase comprehensive coverage. Well, that could be a big risk, especially if you live in an area that is known for hailstorms or tornadoes, or you're near the coast with flooding. So that's one thing you'd have to take into account. Another thing is during the pandemic, a lot of folks have picked up jobs delivering for whether it's Uber Eats or DoorDash or various companies. And a lot of auto policies have exclusions if you're delivering and using it as a business for your business. So you have to be careful from that perspective. Ask the company, do they sell coverage if you're going to have a risk out there, if you're doing a delivery type service or using your vehicle for any type of work. TDI has some resources on our website, tdi.texas.gov. We have an automobile insurance guide that could help out some information. And then the Office of Public Insurance Counsel, OPIC, also has a policy comparison tool on their website, which is opic.texas.gov. So there's some resources out there. You just have to understand what do you need your insurance for, and just take a look at the policy, because the lower price may not be the best coverage that you need.
Right. That can't be the only thing that you look at. Another question we saw come up often is that, well, my neighbor's paying this and I'm paying a lot more. So are there certain things that insurance companies look at when deciding what you'll pay?
Yeah, insurance companies typically use a process called underwriting to determine how much premium they're going to charge you, and even if they're going to sell you the policy that you're looking to buy. Various factors go into that determination on what the premium would be, or if you would have the opportunity to buy it. Age, driving record, claims history. Where do you keep your car? Do you have it in an area secured from the storms, or behind a locked gate if you're in a high crime area? What type of car? They also look at your credit score. So there's various factors that the insurance companies used, as I mentioned, during the underwriting process to determine your premium. So anything that you can do to help in those different categories could result in you paying a lower premium.
So there are so many factors to individualize what you're paying. It's not unusual for you to pay a different amount from a neighbor then.
Yeah, the company's going to look at each person on an individual basis and take it from there. And so you could be paying a higher price than your neighbor for factors that are different than what your neighbor has.
So are there anything that you can do to control your own costs?
Yeah, especially the first place a lot of people start with is just having good driving habits. Is just whether it's defensive driving or not driving over the speed limit, being defensive when you drive, and just having good driving habits. Don't try not to look at your phone, distracted driving. That text can wait till you get to your destination. If you have youthful drivers in your household, a lot of companies offer a discount if your teenager takes driver's ed or has good grades. Another area is if you have multiple policies with the insurance company, they may offer a discount. Your home or your renter's policy, life insurance in addition to your auto. So ask your company about that. And if you turn the TV on right now, you're probably seeing a commercial for mileage-based plans. You may not be driving as much as you did pre-COVID. And so talk to your company about, is that a possibility to save you some money with going with the premium based on how much and how far you drive your car?
Yep. So all of these things that John just mentioned, that's going to be a key, is asking what discounts are available and what goes into your rate, and maybe your agent can help you with that. Another question we saw come up a lot was, when I used to live in another part of the world, another state, it was cheaper than it is here in Texas. Is there something about Texas that is different from other areas?
Yeah, I think what makes Texas unique is I think we have every climate covered in the state, whether it's the coastal, the mountains, the plains. I mean, we got it all, the hills here in the Austin area. So one thing that is unique, maybe over other areas, is just the different weather exposures. Mm-hmm. You can have parts of the state that are prone to flooding or hurricanes down near the coast. Certain parts of the state are more at risk for tornadoes or hailstorms at different types of the year. So they're probably one of the first thing that jumps out is the uniqueness of the weather in Texas compared to other areas. Other areas may only have one of those. Texas does have multiple factors that could come into play with the weather.
Can you give us a quick breakdown between liability versus comprehensive? We see some of the confusion in that and the questions people are looking for.
Yeah, liability is easy to remember. That takes care of the damage that you as the owner of the vehicle, or if someone else is driving your car, that's going to take care of the damage that you're responsible for in an accident. The state of Texas does require in the transportation code that you care for financial responsibility. As an owner and a driver, you have to have at least liability insurance. So that's going to take care of you for the damages you're responsible for if you're at fault in an accident. Comprehensive and collision coverage, that takes care of the damage to your car, regardless of fault. So if you only have liability and you rear end somebody at a stoplight, the investigation shows that you're at fault, your car will not get fixed through your insurance coverage because you only carried liability. Your liability will pay to fix the other person's car, take care of if they're injured, any damages that you're legally responsible for because of the accident. So it's key to look at. You might think, well, I don't need comprehensive or collision. I need to save a few dollars. But I think then you need to do the math and see if the premium is going to cost whatever per month or per year. Can I afford that? Because I want to make sure my car is fixed if it's involved in an accident or a hailstorm, or if it's stolen by a thief. I want to make sure my car is fixed, and because I need access to that vehicle.
So price shouldn't be the only consideration when you choose an auto policy. You also need to understand the coverage you're buying. We asked TDI's Nicole Beal what auto coverage applies in a couple of situations that don't come up every day, like when you rent a car. Should you accept the insurance from the rental car business, or is that something that you're already covered for?
It's a good question, and an answer is it depends, but of course getting that
it always depends.
It always depends. All policies are different out there, so you just never know without talking to your insurance company and talking to your agent. I will say, if you're looking for a little bit of extra peace of mind, getting that rental car coverage might be worth it. You should ask your agent some specific questions about whether or not that rental car is covered, and it's based on how you are using that car. So if you are using that rental car, you're on vacation and you're needing a car, that's different and might be covered different than if you're getting a rental car because, say, maybe your car's in the shop. So you need to ask and find out if you're covered for both of those, or if you're covered even for using a rental car for work. All those can be different coverages and different limits.
And what about programs that, like loyalty programs from credit cards, or maybe even that rental facility? Is that real coverage that you may have as well?
So those are options for coverage. They're not technically insurance, so we can't help you at the Texas Department of Insurance with those, but they are available.
Okay, so maybe start with a call to your regular auto insurance and ask them what kind of coverage you have. In a similar vein, if you're borrowing a neighbor's car or maybe a family member's car, whose insurance covers you there?
So usually if you borrow a car, the owner's policy, the owner of that vehicle, their policy is going to pay if you get in an accident, as long as you have permission to use the vehicle, of course. Your policy also might kick in. You might have some coverage there, especially if you're hurt. You can look into uninsured motorists, which usually follows you, and personal injury protection, which also follows you if you're in someone else's car.
Now, when we were talking before we got started, you said if this is something that you're doing more than just occasionally, you might want to talk to an agent about that as well.
Right. If you're frequently borrowing a car, you want to ask your agent about non-owners coverage. That can cover you when you're borrowing cars often.
You said it's called not owner's car?
Non-owners.
Oh, non-owners coverage. Okay, very good. Hadn't heard about that one. Another kind of unusual situation that comes up, I would say infrequently, or maybe never for me, but when you buy a new car, do you need something called gap insurance? And secondly, what is gap insurance?
Sure. So, that new car, they always say as soon as you drive off the lot, it's dropping in value by a lot. So at that point in time, and maybe for a little while after, you're going to end up having a loan that's more than your car's worth. And so if you have an accident, if you total that car, the insurance is going to pay what your car's worth, not what you owe on it. So you might have a gap there, and that's what they call gap coverage. So gap coverage is protecting you from that hole. They'll pay the extra. Companies call it different things, but ask your agent. I'm sure they can point you in the right direction on how to get protection on that.
Okay, so again, ask your agent for details on whether or not you need that. And again, so that's something, while the car is very new, your loan could be larger than what the vehicle is worth. Is there a point in time where you may want to talk about dropping that coverage?
Yes, definitely remember that. So it's usually about 2 years, but it's whenever you owe less than your car is worth.
Okay, so the value of the car is important there.
Yes. And you can check that on your own online. Different websites can help you find the value of your vehicle.
Okay, so as both of our experts noted, each driver's situation is unique. So it's always a good idea to check with your company and see what kind of coverage is right for you, how you drive, and of course, for your budget. Well, that's it for today. If you need information about auto insurance, start on our website. It's tdi.texas.gov, and you can also call our helpline at 800-252-3439 to ask your own insurance questions. And be sure to subscribe to the Texas Insurance Podcast, wherever you get podcasts, so you don't miss out on any of this important information. We'll talk to you next time.